Hello, welcome to the workshop. Today is going to be a slightly different video because this isn't me well, it is me building something, but it's me building something with the purpose of debunking this kind of garbage which is appearing on Facebook at the moment, which is basically making these so-called free energy machines, which are basically, they have no basis in actual science and they are basically fake viral videos. So I'm going to show you later in this video how that is done, how you would actually go about making one of these fake energy machines, and how basically how the videos are done, how the videos are faked. But this is the group, and so if I just sort of scroll down, we've got this first one, which is basically a light bulb wired to what appears to be a transformer block or possibly a lighting ballast. We have a copper coil and two presumably magnets, again with a bulb wired across them. We have what appears to be a loudspeaker and a couple of spark plugs, and a coil that appears to be using all the elements that are generally used in these videos. Basically, there's three principal ways that these fake energy machines are built on these sites. That is using either a loudspeaker, some sort of coil, or using spark plugs. I'm going to demonstrate two of those, which is the coil and the loudspeaker. I'm not going to demonstrate the spark plug one, basically because I don't have any spark plugs, and I'm not going out and buying them just to make this video, because it's stupid and pointless, because these machines are fake. They do not generate free energy. You cannot pull energy out of thin air. You cannot... I was half tempted to do a demonstration in this as to how an actual electric generator works, but I would have to build one. I have got the stuff to do it, but it would take time, and I kind of want to get this all done in an hour just to demonstrate how these fake videos are done. And basically they are all done, as far as I can tell, using what I'm basically calling a rigged light bulb, which I will demonstrate how to make at the end of the video. The next thing I'm going to show you is two clips of me building two fake free energy machines. I'm saying these are fake right now. This is not supposed to mislead. This is basically a video for education to show you how these videos are faked. So without further ado, we're going to go to the bench just here and we're going to build two free energy machines. I'm going to demonstrate them, and then I'm going to show you how it's actually done with the rigged light bulb. Okay, so this is free energy machine number one. This is using some sort of, I don't even know what principle this is using, because it isn't based on any science that I understand, and it is basically using a copper coil to presumably draw some sort of, I don't know, free crystal energy out of the air or something. And basically what they normally do on these videos is glue together a bunch of sort of sciencey looking components using a hot glue gun. In this case I am gluing two old hard drive platters to a heatsink because it looks sciencey. Then I'm going to glue down some bits of terminal block. They always have some nice chunky terminal block on these things, even though I can 100% tell you that is not required for what they're actually doing here, which I will explain later. So they then have a copper coil, and of course because this is hot glue, this has fallen off because hot glue isn't that great really, especially not for gluing two very smooth surfaces together. I only need this to hang together really for a matter of seconds while I demonstrate this, but apparently it can't even manage that. So yeah, I will basically connect up these bits of wire into these terminal blocks. And this has fallen off again because these are extremely smooth, and for whatever reason this just does not want to glue today. Possibly it is too cold down here and this is setting too quickly, or it could just be that these hard drive platters are too smooth. So that is essentially our first free energy machine, and I'm just going to add some output wires to this and then demonstrate that, of course, this is outputting 240 volts, which by powering a light bulb from it. And I've just dropped that wire on the floor and probably gone out of shot. So we have two wires here, and based on these videos I need to be really careful with these wires because this is going to output 240 volts, and you can see how careful I'm going to be because I'm going to hold one in each hand like this and blatantly nothing is going to happen. So in this video I will then, you see, have what appears to be a perfectly ordinary LED light bulb linked up to my nice little sort of science machine, and I will put the LED light bulb down on the bench, and this has come out because this terminal block is far too big for holding this sort of wire, but I cannot find any thicker wire right now. So this is our little generator, and we're going to wire it up to this light, and the light bulb should light. It may not do because I have built this incredibly badly. There we go, look. Our light bulb is lighting. We are generating 240 volts from thin air just using a copper coil. So I'll explain in a minute how this works, but first of all I will build the other free energy machine you commonly see, one of the other types, sorry, which uses a loudspeaker. Okay, so this is going to be the second free energy machine. Again, this time it's going to be using an old heatsink just because they look fancy and sciencey, which we glue down to a wooden base, which does absolutely nothing. But they always seem to have one in these videos, and then onto that we are going to mount an old loudspeaker. So this, as you can possibly tell, is not actually going to do anything besides just sit here, but of course we're going to solder some wires onto it. So that it looks like it's going to do something. I don't know why I keep dropping wire on the floor today, it just seems to be what is happening. So we are going to go in and we are going to lose where I put the solder wire, which is here. I'm just going to add some solder to the terminals of this old loudspeaker. Like so, and we're going to add our wire like so, and add our second wire like so. And again, now if you believe these videos, you now have to be very careful because apparently these two wires are outputting 240 volts. And again, we're going to demonstrate this by wiring in our light bulb, which as you can see is a perfectly ordinary LED bulb. So we're going to touch these two together, and oh look, our light bulb lights. You even get a little bit of noise out the speaker as it's generating electricity. But our light bulb lights, so this is obviously outputting 240 volts, as demonstrated by the fact that I can quite happily touch the ends of these wires. Yeah, so this is the free energy machines, 2 of them, demonstrated now. There's a third type you commonly see which uses spark plugs, which I'm not demonstrating because I haven't got any spark plugs, but fundamentally it relies on the same principle. This here is a rigged light bulb, which I will show you how to make in just a moment. And essentially what these 2 generators are short circuits, which I will show you right now using this multimeter. So I'm going to switch this to resistance range. Now, unfortunately the beeper on this multimeter is broken. I can't demonstrate it by doing a beep test, so you'll have to take my word for it that 1 means that there is full resistance, there is an air gap essentially, and that 0 is achieved touching the probes together. So I'm going to try and position this multimeter. In fact, let's put the light back on, then you might be able to see it a little bit better. Let's think how we can prop this up. Maybe use this tape measure from over here. So you should now be able to see that multimeter on camera. And first of all, we're going to go across the terminals of the coil type generator, trying to keep my hands somewhat out of shot, and we can see that measures 0. We are then going to do the same on the speaker type generator, and again you will see that actually has a very low resistance because it's a 4 ohm speaker. So yeah, that is the fundamentals of how these free energy machines work. They are fakes. They are done probably using a rigged light bulb which contains a small battery, and I will show you how that works in a moment, but essentially putting any metal object, so in this case a set of pliers, between the 2 terminals will cause the bulb to light. And that is fundamentally how the vast majority of these free energy videos are made. Now, some of them, they complicate that a little by using a compact fluorescent type light bulb, and I believe what they do in there is they break out all of the circuitry and then use some UV LEDs to excite the phosphor in the compact fluorescent tube, but I'm not sure if that's correct. The other way that they often fake these videos, which I'm not going to show you because it is quite dangerous, is that what they do is they have on these boards with the other components, they will have either a single or a double socket, which is supposedly wired to either the loudspeaker generator or the coil generator or the spark plug generator, and essentially it is a double socket wired to those generators, or that's what you're led to believe, whereas in reality what you have is you have a 240 volt power cord coming up through a hole in the bench into the back of that socket. Now, I'm not going to demonstrate that today because I don't want to drill a hole through my bench, and I also don't fancy actually handling 2 live 240 volt connections. But obviously the people who do these videos, assuming that's how they do some of them, that is what they are doing. They've just got a socket that's wired through a hole in the bench. These things do not work. They don't pull energy out of thin air or out of crystal power or out of solar flare power or whatever the hell else it is they seem to think that provides the energy source for these machines. They are just using some sort of trickery, and the most common is a rigged light bulb. As I say, the next little part of this video will be showing you how to make a rigged light bulb. Okay, so this is how we are going to make a rigged light bulb. So this is a standard LED light. It's got a bit of a rattle in here because I've already cut some of the circuitry out just to check that I could. But essentially this is a standard 240 volt LED light that had failed, that was waiting to be thrown out. So I'm just going to pop this this cover off, which is just a matter of brute force. So that removes that. Then there's a little circuit board with some LEDs, which I will be, and then behind that there's like a little mains driver thing, which I have absolutely no interest in whatsoever. All I'm looking to do is access the terminals down the bottom there with some new wire. I hope I can get a soldering iron in and do that. If not, this might be a very, very short video. Now we're just going to solder together a bunch of LEDs. I'm probably going to turn the camera off for this because it's not going to be particularly interesting. Okay, so what we've created here is just an array of 6 LEDs in a circle, and these should be able to be powered off a coin cell. And that is basically what is going to go inside our rigged light bulb. So our coin cell will be soldered across these with essentially the bulb holder in place of the switch. And yes, I know for anyone out there who is actually good at electronics, my soldering skills are fairly poor. But this is because, certainly for this build, I'm not actually that bothered. Because this is purely just to prove a point as to how these fake videos are made, and then this will be being dismantled. So all I'm going to do now is wrap up all these joints in electrical tape just to stop anything shorting out, and then I will show you the completed fake light bulb. If I now just touch between the inner and outer parts of this base, you can see that the LEDs will light. It's not particularly bright, and probably if I could find a buttons, if I could be bothered to find a coin cell that had a little bit more juice left in it, it would look better. But I can't. Oh, I won't. Literally all we're going to do is stuff all of this inside the base of this bulb, put the LEDs in sort of towards the top, sort of wedge all that down in there, then put the top of the bulb back on. And if I just turn this light off to make it a little bit dimmer down here, now all I'm going to do is use this set of pliers to touch across there, and you'll see, oh look, we've got our bulb lighting up. So that is our basic rigged light bulb. As I say, if I put a bit more battery power into it, I could probably get it looking a bit brighter and a bit better.